The irony is palpable. Robert De Niro, who frequently lambasts conservative politicians on television, now finds himself the one whose own words are being used as evidence against him in court. For years, he has been a loud voice in Hollywood, unafraid to criticize Republicans, often calling them dangerous, extreme, and even crazy. But today De Niro is no longer on a stage. He stands before the bar of justice. No more applause. No more stage lights. Only the heavy silence of the courtroom where he tries to stay composed, but his voice trembles, his hands shake, and his eyes wander. Because this time the person forcing him to answer is someone he once dismissed. Karoline Leavitt, a young, tough, and unrelenting female politician, and she has brought to court something De Niro could never have anticipated: irrefutable evidence. From a seemingly harmless comment on television, a media storm erupted, leading to a shocking defamation lawsuit. What were once sarcastic remarks in interviews are now being used as evidence in a massive $800 million defamation lawsuit, initiated by Karoline Leavitt. And this time, Robert De Niro cannot direct the story's ending the way he wants. Before diving into the story, comment where you're watching from and don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss the latest stories. The Spotlight studio on CBS glowed with bright lights, the atmosphere electric like a battleground. This was where political and cultural figures clashed, drawing millions of viewers. That night, all eyes were on the two guests, Karoline Leavitt, a representative of the MAGA movement and the Trump administration, and Robert De Niro, a Hollywood legend who never hesitated to attack Trump and his supporters. No one expected this dialogue to ignite a defamation lawsuit that would shake the nation. The host, Alex Harper, a seasoned provocateur, opened with a sly smile. "Miss Leavitt, welcome to the spotlight. You're the youngest press secretary in history, working for President Trump. What's your role, and how do you handle criticism from the media?" The audience clapped, but the tension was palpable. A few whistles rang out, as if anticipating a reaction from De Niro, who sat across from her, his gaze icy, arms crossed. Leavitt, in a striking pink suit, sat upright, her eyes confident. "Thank you, Alex. I'm here to deliver President Trump's America First message. We're building a strong economy, securing borders, and fighting back against lies from the liberal media. They're a propaganda machine, but I'll speak the truth, whether they like it or not." The audience clapped, but boos from a corner of the studio, mostly De Niro's fans, heated the atmosphere. The camera panned to him, and Harper shifted focus. "Mr. De Niro, Miss Leavitt called the media a propaganda machine. As an industry insider, what do you think?" Harper asked, his tone suggestive. De Niro, in a black suit, leaned forward, his eyes locked on Leavitt. "I don't care about the media," he said, his voice low but sharp. "I care about people like her. Trump's young puppets, no experience, no credibility, just parroting dangerous lies. You're a threat to democracy, Miss Leavitt, you and your entire generation." The studio erupted. Some audience members clapped wildly, others whistled in protest. The camera zoomed in on Leavitt, but she didn't flinch, her lips curling slightly. Harper, sensing the drama, pressed on. "Miss Leavitt, Mr. De Niro called you a threat to democracy. How do you respond?" Leavitt took a breath, her eyes sharp. "Mr. De Niro," she said, her voice calm but cutting, "I'm not here to be insulted by someone using their Hollywood fame to smear anyone who disagrees with them. I represent millions of Americans who believe in President Trump. You only represent your own ego." The audience held its breath. Scattered applause from MAGA supporters broke out, but most of the crowd leaned toward De Niro, who smirked dismissively. De Niro pointed at Leavitt, his voice rising. "You talk about America? You're just a young girl, fresh out of school, propped up by Trump as a figurehead. You don't understand democracy or responsibility. You just follow orders." His words landed like a punch, and the audience exploded. Some shouted in support, others booed. Harper interjected, "All right, let's calm down." But Leavitt raised her hand, demanding to continue. "Mr. De Niro," she said, her voice colder, "I don't need to justify my qualifications. I was appointed because I get results, not because of my appearance or age, as you're implying. You may have an Oscar, but that doesn't give you the right to defame others on national television. If you want to talk about responsibility, start with yourself." The studio erupted, split between applause and boos. De Niro, caught off guard by Leavitt's steel, shook his head. muttering, "She doesn't get it." Harper, seeing the drama reach its peak, tried to shift topics. "Thank you both for the lively exchange. We'll be back after the break." But the audience couldn't take their eyes off Leavitt and De Niro, who stared at each other as if the battle wasn't over. As the show paused, some MAGA supporters stood up, clapping for Leavitt and shouting, "Karoline, Karoline." De Niro's fans whispered criticisms, one loudly saying, "She's just a puppet." The segment went viral on social media within hours, becoming a trending topic with millions of views. The MAGA community hailed Leavitt as a conservative firebrand. One post read, "Karoline Leavitt silenced De Niro. This is the new MAGA generation." De Niro's fans and liberal media defended him, calling Leavitt an opportunist. A mocking post said, "She just graduated and dares to take on De Niro. Laughable." Another viewer wrote, "De Niro's right, she's a threat." The conflict escalated when De Niro continued his attacks on CNN. "She's a product of Trump's system," he said, staring into the camera. "A young person who knows nothing about the world, just following orders. People like her are more dangerous than Trump because they're young and ambitious." These words, instead of solidifying his anti-Trump hero image, became leverage for Leavitt. She didn't respond on social media or TV, as many expected. Instead, she worked with her legal team, gathering evidence footage from the spotlight, De Niro's interviews, posts and audience comments, showing the negative impact on her reputation. After the fiery clash on the spotlight, Karoline Leavitt didn't let herself get swept up in the whirlwind of social media debates or emotional interviews. While the public buzzed with viral clips, she retreated backstage, turning the media storm into an opportunity to strike. Leavitt, with her sharp mind and unwavering loyalty to Trump, understood that De Niro's words weren't just a personal insult, but an attack on the entire MAGA movement. She decided to respond, not with words but with a stronger weapon, the law. Right after the show, Leavitt returned to her White House office, her pink suit still pristine, but her eyes gleaming with resolve. She called an urgent meeting with advisors, including a lawyer who had worked for Trump, Sylvia Martinez, known for turning lawsuits into political weapons. "We can't let De Niro and Hollywood keep smearing people like me without consequences," Leavitt said, her voice low but determined. "This isn't just about me, it's about millions of Americans they call dangerous just for their beliefs." Martinez nodded, recognizing the lawsuit's potential not only as a legal victory, but as a political statement. Martinez, with her high bun and icy demeanor, got to work immediately. She proposed an $800 million defamation lawsuit targeting De Niro, CBS the broadcaster of the spotlight, and any outlet that amplified his attacks. "We need to prove De Niro didn't just speak recklessly," Martinez explained, "but that he intentionally damaged your reputation with real impacts on your career and public image." Leavitt agreed but emphasized, "I want this case to send a message. No one, not even a Hollywood star, gets to destroy someone without consequences." Leavitt's team quickly built their case. They started by collecting evidence from the spotlight confrontation. Technicians analyzed every frame, every word De Niro said, especially phrases like young puppet and threat to democracy. They also gathered subsequent interviews, including the CNN segment where De Niro called Leavitt more dangerous than Trump. These statements, Martinez argued, weren't just personal but part of a systematic smear campaign, damaging Leavitt's credibility as press secretary. To strengthen the case, Leavitt worked with a social media expert team led by Ethan Cole, a data analyst who had worked on MAGA campaigns. Cole and his team scoured social media, collecting thousands of related posts. They found countless audience comments, from mocking ones like "She's just Trump's puppet" to malicious posts like "Leavitt's unfit to be press secretary. She's just a figurehead." These posts, Cole argued, proved De Niro's statements sparked a wave of attacks, directly impacting Leavitt's reputation and career opportunities, including some media outlets canceling interviews with her. When Martinez's team received a leaked internal email from De Niro's entourage, the case gained a critical edge. The document, provided by a disgruntled staffer, showed De Niro's manager Greg Palmer had actively pushed him to target Leavitt. In the email, Palmer wrote, "She's the perfect target, young, vulnerable, and it'll make you stand out in the anti-Trump crowd." An assistant replied, "Agreed, hitting her will get big attention." This email, Martinez said, was pure gold. evidence that De Niro's attacks weren't spontaneous but a deliberate attempt to smear Leavitt to bolster his own image. Leavitt, reading the email, gave a cold smile. "They thought I was easy prey," she told Martinez. They were wrong. Beyond public evidence, Leavitt and her team also prepared internal White House documents proving her competence as press secretary. They gathered reports on successful press briefings, media campaigns she led, and letters of commendation from colleagues, including Elise Stefanik, Leavitt's former superior. These documents aimed to refute De Niro's claims that she was unqualified or just following orders. Martinez emphasized, "We will show the court that Miss Leavitt is not only a victim, but an exceptional politician attacked for her political beliefs." During preparation, Leavitt faced significant pressure. Liberal media, from CNN to the New York Times, called the lawsuit a political stunt and Trump's attack on Hollywood. One article wrote, "Leavitt is exploiting the legal system for personal revenge." De Niro's fans also attacked her, with comments like she's suing De Niro just for fame, or a 27-year-old thinks she can take down a legend. But Leavitt remained unshaken. She received support from Trump, who called her directly, saying, "Karoline, you're doing the right thing. Don't let Hollywood intimidate you." Despite having just given birth, and returning to work only a few months prior, Leavitt spent hours each night working with Martinez and Cole, reviewing every detail of the lawsuit. She knew the case wasn't just about protecting her reputation, but also about setting a precedent powerful stars like De Niro couldn't recklessly smear others without consequences. When Martinez presented the draft complaint, Leavitt read it carefully and said, "I want the world to know that youth or loyalty isn't an excuse to be destroyed. We'll make De Niro answer." At his lavish Manhattan apartment, De Niro paced, his face tense, while his advisors tried to calm him. His manager, Greg Palmer, whose leaked email had backfired against Leavitt, maintained an optimistic tone. "Bob, you're an icon," Palmer said, resting a hand on the ebony table. "This is just Trump's political game. The public's behind you. We'll get through this." But De Niro, with bloodshot eyes from sleepless nights, was no longer certain. He snapped, "You said she'd be easy to handle. Now I'm in court because of that damn email." His legal team, led by veteran attorney Victor Russo, proposed a defense strategy, arguing De Niro's statements fell under free speech. However, Russo whispered a warning. "That email proves malicious intent. We need to prepare for the worst-case scenario." De Niro limited public appearances, but when forced to speak, he remained defiant. When ambushed by reporters outside a New York restaurant, he growled, "This lawsuit is a farce. I said what I think, that she works for a dangerous administration. I don't regret a thing." As the trial date neared, both Leavitt and De Niro felt the weight of the battle. Leavitt, backed by MAGA and unwavering resolve, prepared to enter the courtroom as a trailblazer. De Niro, once an untouchable icon, now faced the risk of losing everything. The atmosphere in the New York federal courtroom was heavy, like the calm before a storm. The gallery was packed, with reporters from CNN and Fox News, MAGA supporters in bright red shirts, and Hollywood fans loyal to Robert De Niro. At the center, Karoline Leavitt, in her striking pink suit, sat at the plaintiff's table, her eyes sharp yet composed, like a strategist ready to deliver the decisive blow. Across from her, De Niro, in a silver-gray suit, tried to maintain confidence, but his clenched hands and wavering gaze betrayed his unease. After months of media and debates, the $800 million defamation lawsuit now reached its defining moment, where Leavitt's evidence would determine both their fates. Judge Margaret Ellis, with silver hair and a stern demeanor, banged the gavel to open the proceedings. "We are here to consider the complaint of Miss Karoline Leavitt against Mr. Robert De Niro and CBS," she declared, her voice echoing through the oak-paneled room. "Plaintiff, please proceed." Sylvia Martinez, Leavitt's lead attorney, stood, her confident gaze sweeping the audience. With a low but compelling voice, she began, "Your Honor, today we will prove that Mr. De Niro not only insulted Miss Leavitt, but conducted a deliberate campaign to destroy her reputation and career, with the support of his team and CBS." Martinez started with a video from the spotlight. The large screen replayed the moment De Niro attacked Leavitt, calling her a young puppet and threat to democracy. The courtroom buzzed, some nodding in agreement, others shaking their heads in disapproval. Martinez paused the video, turning to the judge. This was not a spontaneous opinion, she stressed. This was the start of a smear campaign, repeated across multiple platforms, from television to print, aimed at harming Miss Leavitt. She continued, presenting subsequent interviews, including one on CNN, where De Niro called Leavitt more dangerous than Trump. Each statement landed like a knife, causing De Niro to lower his head, his eyes avoiding the audience. A MAGA supporter whispered, "He knows he's wrong." The next piece of evidence was a data chart prepared by social media expert Ethan Cole, presented by Martinez on the screen. The chart showed over 12,000 X posts using the hashtag #CarolineVisDeNiro in the week following the show, with 65% being negative, ranging from mocking Leavitt's youth to accusing her of being unqualified. Martinez pointed to a specific post, "Leavitt is Trump's puppet, unfit to be press secretary." She turned to the audience, her voice firm. These words didn't appear out of nowhere. They were a direct result of Mr. De Niro's statements, causing real harm to Miss Leavitt's reputation and career opportunities, including canceled media contracts. A reporter scribbled quickly, while De Niro shifted in his seat, whispering to his lawyer, Victor Russo. Martinez, sensing De Niro's unease, delivered the decisive blow, an internal email from his team, leaked by a disgruntled staffer. She requested the email be displayed on the screen. The text appeared clearly, "Target her. She's young, vulnerable, and will make you stand out," sent by manager Greg Palmer. An assistant replied, "She's the perfect target for attention." The courtroom fell silent, with only murmurs from the audience. Martinez turned to De Niro, her voice icy. "Mr. De Niro, is this the personal opinions you claim, or a calculated plan to destroy Miss Leavitt?" De Niro opened his mouth but only mumbled, I didn't know about that email." The audience was stunned. Some MAGA supporters clapped softly, whispering, "She's got him." Lawyer Russo stood, trying to salvage the situation. "Your Honor, my client didn't directly write this email. He was expressing political views, protected by free speech." But Martinez didn't relent. She presented another video, this time from a secretly recorded internal meeting of De Niro's team, filmed by the same staffer who leaked the email. In the video, De Niro told Palmer, "I need to do something to keep my anti-Trump image. That girl Leavitt is a good target. Go after her." The courtroom erupted in murmurs. Judge Ellis banged the gavel, demanding order, but the atmosphere had shifted. De Niro, once an untouchable icon, now bowed his head, hands covering his face, eyes lost. A Hollywood fan whispered, "He's done." Martinez continued, directly questioning De Niro, calling him to the witness stand. "Mr. De Niro," she asked, her voice calm but sharp, "do you have any evidence that Miss Leavitt is a threat to democracy, as you claimed?" De Niro, his voice trembling, replied, "I just said what I felt. I think she works for a dangerous administration." Martinez cut in, "Feelings aren't evidence, sir. Do you have documents, witnesses, or any basis for calling Miss Leavitt a puppet or dangerous?" De Niro fell silent, his eyes panicked. After a long minute, he shook his head. "No, I don't have any." The audience held its breath. Some MAGA supporters stood, clapping and shouting, "Karoline, Karoline." The judge banged the gavel, but the applause continued. Leavitt, seated at the plaintiff's table, didn't smile or show triumph. She maintained her composure, her eyes focused on Martinez, as if knowing the battle wasn't over. Martinez concluded her presentation with a powerful statement. Miss Leavitt is not just a victim of defamation. She is a young, talented woman, attacked for daring to stand up for her beliefs. We ask the court to hold Mr. De Niro and CBS accountable for the harm they've caused. She sat down, and the courtroom erupted in murmurs. A Breitbart reporter quickly posted on X, "Leavitt just landed a fatal blow on De Niro. #Justice for Karoline." Russo on De Niro's side tried to counter, but his arguments were weak against the weight of the evidence. He called a witness, a producer from the Spotlight, to prove the show didn't intend harm. But under Martinez's cross-examination, the producer admitted the team deliberately invited Leavitt and De Niro to create TV drama. This admission further bolstered Leavitt's case, leaving Russo shaking his head in frustration. De Niro, at the defendant's table, now looked like a man under siege, his eyes vacant, hands trembling. As the court recessed, the audience left the courtroom with the sense that the scales had tipped in Leavitt's favor. One person wrote, "Leavitt just made De Niro a laughingstock. She's the future of MAGA." Another post shared a photo of Leavitt in the courtroom, captioned, "Conservative Queen takes down a Hollywood giant." Meanwhile, De Niro's fans tried to defend him, but their tone weakened. One post read, "Bob just spoke the truth, but that email, it's hard to justify." When Judge Margaret Ellis's gavel sounded, concluding the dramatic trial, the courtroom at the New York federal courthouse erupted in whispers and stunned gazes. Karoline Leavitt, her suit still impeccable, left the courtroom with her lawyer Sylvia Martinez, her eyes showing not triumph but resolute determination. Meanwhile, Robert De Niro, once Hollywood's untouchable icon, exited the court looking haggard, his shoulders slumped as if bearing the weight of defeat. Leavitt's irrefutable evidence had transformed him from an anti-Trump hero into a man crushed by his own words. In a hotel room near the courthouse, De Niro sat dazed in an armchair, his vacant eyes staring out the window. His team, once confident that his fame would shield him, now descended into chaos. Manager Greg Palmer, responsible for the damaging leaked email, tried to reassure him. "Bob, we can still turn this around," Palmer said, his voice urgent. "We'll hold a press conference, explain this as a political attack." But De Niro, his voice hoarse, cut him off. "Explain how, Greg? They have the video, the email, everything. I look like a liar." His anger quickly gave way to despair. He rubbed his forehead, muttering, "I just wanted to speak the truth, but I went too far." Palmer bowed his head, unable to find a response. Lawyer Victor Russo, who had failed to defend De Niro, stood in the corner, flipping through documents with a defeated expression. He whispered to an assistant, "We underestimated her. Leavitt didn't just sue, she put all of Hollywood on trial." The harsh reality was that De Niro hadn't only lost in court, he had lost the aura that had defined his career. In his mind, images from the trial replayed, the secretly recorded video, Martinez's piercing questions, and the disappointed looks from the audience. He wondered if all those years opposing Trump were worth it, leading to this moment. Public reaction pushed De Niro deeper into the abyss. On social media, once a stage for his praise, posts now overflowed with criticism. One user wrote, "De Niro dug his own grave with his oversized ego. Leavitt taught him a lesson." Another post included a photo of him leaving court, captioned, "From legend to loser." Loyal fans tried to defend him, but their tone was feeble. One fan wrote, "Bob just said what he believed." But that email, it's hard to forgive. De Niro's social media following plummeted, with thousands unfollowing within hours. Some longtime fans even declared, "I loved De Niro in Taxi Driver, but this time he was wrong." Hollywood, where De Niro was once an icon, began to turn its back. Directors and producers, who once saw him as a prized asset, now kept their distance. At a Los Angeles party, a filmmaker whispered, "Bob put himself on the line. No one wants to work with someone facing an $800 million lawsuit." An upcoming De Niro film project was postponed indefinitely, citing scheduling issues, but everyone knew the real reason. A Variety article analyzed, "Leavitt's lawsuit didn't just hurt De Niro, it's a warning to Hollywood, watch your words." This isolation left De Niro, accustomed to the spotlight, feeling abandoned in the dark. Meanwhile, Leavitt, though avoiding public appearances post-trial, became the center of admiration on social media, dominating every platform with thousands of posts hailing her as the new conservative icon. One user wrote, "Karoline Leavitt, 27, just took down a Hollywood giant. This is MAGA's power." A young woman posted a video of Leavitt leading a press briefing, captioned, "This is the woman De Niro called useless. She's my idol." The MAGA community saw Leavitt's victory as a blow to the elite, with one post declaring, "Leavitt proved no one is above the law, not even Hollywood." This support helped Leavitt weather lingering attacks from opponents, like a post claiming, "She's just Trump's puppet, suing for money." But such comments were quickly drowned out by the wave of support. The media reflected the polarization. Breitbart published a glowing piece, "Karoline Leavitt, the woman who brought Hollywood to its knees." In contrast, the New York Times ran an analysis, "Leavitt's lawsuit, free speech or political revenge?" Even so, Even liberal outlets had to acknowledge the strength of Leavitt's evidence. An MSNBC commentator, though not a Leavitt supporter, said, "She played a perfect game." De Niro had no way out. Amid the storm, De Niro faced a profound personal crisis. He declined most interviews, only appearing briefly at a charity event, where he looked older than his years, his eyes weary. In a private moment with a close friend, he confided, "I thought I was doing the right thing, but now I'm not sure." This regret, though belated, couldn't erase the losses he had suffered. His team, once a protective wall, was unraveling. Palmer faced internal blame for the leaked email, and some assistants quietly sought new jobs, fearing the lawsuit would drag on. When the final verdict rang out in the New York federal courthouse, the room seemed to tremble with its significance. Judge Margaret Ellis declared that Robert De Niro and CBS must pay Karoline Leavitt $200 million for intentional defamation, a sum large enough to send a message: no one, not even a Hollywood star, can smear another without consequences. Leavitt stood beside her lawyer Sylvia Martinez, her eyes gleaming with pride but devoid of boastfulness. This ruling was not just a personal victory but a cultural turning point, solidifying Leavitt's position as a standard-bearer for the new conservative generation and shaking the foundations of Hollywood's power. For De Niro, the verdict was a devastating blow. His reputation, built on legendary roles in The Godfather and Raging Bull, was now tarnished by the lawsuit. Studios which once viewed him as a treasure began to pull back. A major film project starring De Niro was canceled, citing financial difficulties, but everyone knew the lawsuit was the cause. A studio executive privately told Deadline, "Working with Bob is a risk now. No one wants to be tied to a $200 million lawsuit." Advertising contracts, from a high-end watch brand to his Nobu restaurant chain, were also under review. De Niro, once a symbol of defiance, was now described by the media as a man defeated by his own arrogance. A Wall Street Journal headline read, "From hero to defendant, De Niro's defeat by Leavitt." The public reacted fiercely. Those who once admired De Niro turned away, with tens of thousands unfollowing his social media accounts. An ex-post read, "De Niro destroyed himself. Leavitt just showed him the consequences." Another shared a photo of him leaving court, captioned, "Legend falls for messing with Karoline." Though some loyal fans tried to defend him, claiming he was politically trapped, their voices were drowned out by the wave of criticism. A bitter post from a former fan read, "I used to love De Niro, but he let his ego override reason." This downfall was not just personal but a warning to Hollywood stars. Their power was no longer absolute. The lawsuit's greatest impact was the shift in the media and Hollywood industries. Stars, once carefree and attacking politicians without fear of repercussions, became more cautious. A famous comedian, on a late-night show, joked, "I'm not mentioning anyone named Karoline unless I want to end up in court." Studios began including clauses in contracts requiring artists to avoid controversial statements. A producer told Variety, "This lawsuit was a wake-up call. Words now come with a high price." Social media platforms, the battleground for the lawsuit, solidified their role as a force shaping public opinion, surpassing traditional media. An ex-post read, "Leavitt turned social media into a weapon. Hollywood's no longer king." The lawsuit also set a legal precedent. Conservative politicians, from local Congress members to governors, began considering lawsuits against media for defamation. A Texas lawyer told AP, "Leavitt opened a new path. We're seeing more similar lawsuits." This raised concerns in the media, with an Atlantic editor writing, "Leavitt's victory could chill press freedom." But for MAGA supporters, it was a triumph of justice. An ex-post declared, "Leavitt gave us the tools to fight back against the enemy." In the glow of victory, Leavitt remained humble. She returned to her White House duties, leading press briefings with growing confidence. Letters from supporters, from Iowa farmers to Florida students, poured in, praising her for standing up to power. One letter read, "Miss Karoline, you gave me the courage to defend my beliefs." Leavitt, though exhausted from a demanding schedule and motherhood, felt empowered. In a private moment, she told Martinez, "I didn't do this for fame. I did it for those who believe in me." Martinez smiled, replying, "You did more than that. You changed the game." Karoline Leavitt's victory over Robert De Niro was not just a legal ruling but a spark igniting a new administration. At 27, she etched her name into history as a symbol of courage, turning an $800 million defamation lawsuit into a manifesto for the conservative generation. Her legacy extended beyond the briefing room, reshaping how America views power and accountability. Leavitt inspired millions, especially young women and conservatives who felt overwhelmed by the media. Girls in small towns began entering politics, modeling themselves after her. An Alabama student wrote, "Karoline showed me I can take on anyone no matter how powerful." Conservative organizations hailed her as a trailblazer, with workshops named the Leavitt Spirit to encourage youth involvement. Her influence spread through speeches where she emphasized, "Your beliefs are worth defending, no matter who the enemy is." Leavitt's legal influence was undeniable. The lawsuit paved the way for conservative politicians to file defamation suits, sparking a wave dubbed the Leavitt effect. A Florida lawyer said, "She gave us a roadmap to fight injustice." While some worried about press freedom, her supporters argued she restored fairness. An ex-post declared, "Karoline proved the law belongs to everyone, not just the elite." Leavitt's legacy is an unquenchable flame, inspiring a generation to challenge power. She didn't just defeat Niro, she rewrote the rules, laying the foundation for an America where conservative voices resonate far and wide. The story of Karoline Leavitt's legal triumph over Robert De Niro reflects the current social and political tensions in the United States, where polarization between conservative and liberal views, coupled with the power of media and social media, shapes public discourse. In the story, Leavitt, a young and loyal Trump press secretary, used irrefutable evidence, such as a leaked email from De Niro's team and social media posts, to prove his intent to defame her, ultimately winning an $800 million defamation lawsuit. The confrontation on the spotlight and De Niro's downfall in court highlight the power of accountability, especially when facing influential figures like Hollywood stars. The strong support from the MAGA community on social media and the public's turning against De Niro reflect how social media, particularly X, can amplify or destroy reputations in an instant. Leavitt's legacy, as described in Part 8, underscores the ability of a young underestimated individual to change the game through persistence and strategy. The lesson for real life is that in today's United States, where debates on platforms like X can escalate rapidly, this story teaches us the importance of using words carefully and standing up to defend one's reputation when wronged. Like De Niro, careless words can lead to severe consequences, especially in an era of fast-spreading information. Learn from Leavitt, instead of reacting emotionally, gather evidence, seek community support, and act strategically. Whether young or less powerful, persistence and belief in your worth, as Leavitt showed in her pink suit, can help you confront any giant. In a polarized society, build your voice with truth and accountability, because words not only shape you but can also change the world. Please like and subscribe to support Karoline Leavitt's journey in changing the game against Hollywood's elite. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video to explore more inspiring stories.